Welcome back, everyone. We are moving to section 4.2, which is basic selectors. So far, we have seen how CSS rules are written, but an important question is how we decide which elements those rules apply to. So that's where selectors come in. Selectors are what connect CSS rules to specific HTML elements. They let us say, I want this rule to apply to all the paragraphs, or only to this element, or even all the elements in a specific class. So in this section, we will look at the most basic selectors, things like element selectors, class selectors, ID selectors. So these are the foundation of CSS, and once you understand them, you can target any part of your web page for styling. So now let's break down three of the most common CSS selectors you will be using at all time. First, we have the element selector. This is the most simplest. It targets all elements of a given type. For example, if I write a paragraph color to be blue, every paragraph on the page will turn blue. So the rule applies to all elements with the tag name of the paragraph. Next, we have the class selector. Classes are really useful when you want to style a group of element, but not necessarily all of that type. So, for example, you want um, some of the paragraphs to be a different color, but not all of them. So that's where you use a class selector. So, for example, here, color blue means any element with class notice will get blue text, no matter whether it's a div class or a paragraph class or a span. Finally, there's the ID selector. IDs are unique. They are meant for one single element on the page. We target them using a hash symbol followed by the ID name. So if I write hash byline, color is blue, only the element with ID equal to byline will be styled. Now let's look at how we actually apply styles to HTML elements using classes. In HTML, the class attribute allows us to group elements together under one or more class names. So this makes it easy to apply when the same CSS rules to many elements at once. So unlike IDs, which are unique to a single element, classes can be shared across multiple elements. For example, take this element span class equal to highlight first. Here, the span belongs to two classes, highlight and first. Notice how the class names are separated by a space. So this means the element will inherit styles from both highlight class and the first class. So the key difference is IDs are unique, used for one element only, and classes can be used on many elements, which makes them great for applying consistent styles across your page. So let's see how element, class, and ID selectors actually work in practice. By default, the browser colors text black on a white background. Now, when we add the CSS rules, they override the default. First, the element selector P, color is blue, applies all the paragraph um, element, so any paragraph text will turn blue. So that's why the first line, children of men, appears in blue. But next we have the class selector, and the .gr is equal to green, is green. So this rule targets any element with the class name green. In the example, the paragraph class green here, so the moon is not blue anymore, it will turn green. And finally, the ID selector is orange. Since the paragraph ID is equal to second, the Blade Runner, So it has the ID, it turns orange. So we see all three selectors in action in this example. Element selectors apply to all elements of the type. Class selectors apply to all elements sharing that same class. And ID selectors apply to only that one unique element with the given ID. Next is the descendant selector. This type of selector is used when we want to style element that are contained inside another element. For example, in the code here, we have the pspan background color is yellow. This means we are targeting any span element, but only if it is inside a paragraph element. So as a result, in our example, the words, this is a text inside the span, are highlighted in yellow. Now, if that span was outside of the paragraph, this rule wouldn't apply. That's the main idea. The descendant selector looks for element nested within another element. So think of it this way. We are saying find a paragraph first and then style the span that lives inside the paragraph. So let me give you a quick check. If I wrote dp, what would that mean, right? It would select all paragraph element that are inside a div element. So that's how descendant selectors help us apply styles in a very specific context rather than style everything on the same page. Now let's talk about something which is really interesting in CSS, the pseudo class selector. A pseudo class is written with a colon followed by a keyword, and it lets us style elements based on their state, user behavior, or some special conditions. For example, disabled applies styles to an element when it's disabled. Hover applies style when the mouse is hovering over it, and empty applies when an element has no child content. So there are also others like language for text written in a specific language, and nth child or n to target the nth child element inside a parent. So now here's the cool part. You can also combine pseudo classes with other selectors. For example, a hover will only select anchor tags when the mouse is over hovering over them, and span dot highlight targets only span elements with the highlight class. So pseudo classes give us much more control over how elements behave and look depending on context and user interaction. So that's all for chapter 4.2. I will see you on the next one. Thank you.